Over the past 15 years, Mega Bloks have created a multitude of Warthogs for us, but it all started back in 2009 with this one, the original Halo Wars Mega Bloks Warthog. The set came with 2 green Spartans, a blue Covenant Elite, a Covenant turret, consisted of 179 pieces and originally cost $20. And whilst compared to today's standard, it is far from the best hog they've ever created. It was, however, the hog that started it all. And if it wasn't for the success of this early line, we wouldn't be where we are today. Mega have continued to create Warthogs at a rate of at least 1 a year ever since then, constantly tweaking and improving the design and build experience as they go. They've all been generally pretty good and they've learned along the way, so some things have worked better than others and they tend to incorporate the things that do work into future builds. They've also given us variants of the Warthog, like the Troop Hog, which we've had in a number of different colours, as well as the NMPD variant. They've also produced the Rocket Hog version in both green and blue variants, as well as the Warthog cannon. We had a very early version of this, and then they've released a number of different variants ever since. And while some people openly object to the amount of Warthogs we've had over the years and continue to get into the future, no doubt, I'm personally all for it, because every time they release a new Warthog, they almost always include new build techniques with new parts, which allow us to create an almost endless variety of custom Warthogs. And that brings us nicely on to the reason for today's video. This Rocket Hog from the 2012 UNSC Rocket Hog vs Anti-Aircraft gun set has to be one of my favourite hogs Mega have produced. I love the colour, I love the art style of Reach, and I love the fact that it's got the rocket pod attachment to it, which makes it unique and stand out from many of the other Warthogs that Mega have produced over the years. But as perfect as it is, I found myself wanting more. I've always wanted a standard chain gun version. So this got me wondering, well, why don't I just make my own? I've got enough of these spare, so let's convert some. So first up, I started by creating a chain gun version, which was a real simple process of just basically pulling off the rocket pod, finding the parts to create the chain gun in the colors that I wanted it to be, and hey presto, you've got your chain gun variant. Excuse the fact that some of these are missing stickers. I don't have enough stickers to have them all fully stickered up. Hopefully I'll find some in the future, but until then, they'll just have to go without. Once I've got my chain gun variant, I then wanted to move on to the Troop Hog variant. Now, the Troop Hog variant from Reach looks different to the Troop Hogs that Mega have released before. So if you look up some pictures, it doesn't have those big sidebars that fold down. So I had to be a bit more creative with the redesign on this. I completely pulled apart the back end and then managed to incorporate the big roll cage section on the back in a very different manner than what the original build would be, which took a surprising amount of time. It wasn't as simple as I thought it would be. It did go through a number of different variations, but eventually I settled on this one and I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfect. The front section behind the driver's seat of the back cabin, that shouldn't look like that, but they don't have a custom piece to look right. I may go back and rework it at some point in the future, but for now, this does the job for me. It's obvious it's a Troop Hog and it looks pretty much like the Troop Hog from Reach. So once I'd done all of these 3 builds, I was pretty much hooked. I wanted to create more and more variants of Warthogs. The next one I decided to do was the EVA's Last Stand. Anybody that's bought this set will know it doesn't come with all of the chassis to be able to create a Warthog with. You can use this Rocket Hog chassis and just plant the pieces on top that come with the EVA's Last Stand. They do give you all the right amount of pieces to actually be able to build it if you've got a spare Rocket Hog. But I wanted to do something different, so instead I decided to upgrade the EVA's Last Stand more to a Halo 4 style Warthog. So as you can see, I added all of the bull bars around the front and the back, and I also integrated the Halo Infinite style suspension. I know these are all different time frames, these builds, but this one wasn't me trying to recreate something from a game as such. This was just me saying, I really like the colour of the EVA's Last Stand Warthog. I want to see what I can do with it. So I threw it all together like this, and I was really pleased with the end result. So that was the second Warthog that I actually created. And this gave me the confidence to tackle something I'd been wanting to do for ages, which was to create a completely custom all black civilian style Warthog, purposely created in lore for the Office of Navel Intelligence. In many of the books in the extended lore, they're a bit almost secret agent FBI type people, so I wanted something that would be fast, well armoured, and look super intimidating and mean. So I started by looking up what actually existed in lore, because I wanted this set to feel like it could exist in lore. And if you go on Halopedia, you'll see that there are many variants of Halo vehicles that exist in lore from the multiplayer, which are just the standard vehicles basically covered in black. They say that they're more armoured and so on if you're using them in multiplayer, but visually they don't tend to look too much different apart from their colour. That wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want to just create a black Warthog with a chain on the back. I wanted to create something that looked fast, and nothing says fast better than a fastback. I continued to look through Google to see if there was a variant of civilian Warthog, and to my surprise there was, and even more to my surprise, it's called the Capri. I couldn't find any visual images confirming what it looked like, but there is speculation that it's called the Capri after the Capri from the 60s and 70s, which went hand in hand with what I was trying to create, because one of the features that I wanted on the Warthog was a rear window louver, which you don't see these days, but I still think looks super cool on the right vehicle. So with all that in mind, I got building, and this is what I came up with. I called it the ONI Rapid Response Warthog, and if it were a set, that's what I'd name the set. And what you see in front of you is what I'd probably include with the set. 2 ONI agents, which I've represented here just with a couple of NMPD officers without their body armor on, but that seemed appropriate given ONI agents often do just wear all black uniforms with no insignia or badges on them, possibly the ONI badge, but that's about it. And then I'd also include this little wall because I love those little walls, and I think it would just go well with this set, and the 2 traffic cones, because who doesn't like traffic cones? And whilst I can appreciate this wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea as a set, because ONI is more in the extended lore rather than the actual games, a lot of people probably wouldn't even know what ONI is. I know ONI features relatively heavily in Halo 3 ODST with Dare, but that's an old game and not everybody may have played that, so it wouldn't be overly relevant to everyone. Taking a closer look at the figures, as you can see, they are relatively standard figures, but they do the job. I'm sure if Mega was to produce them, they could do something to actually make them stand out as ONI agents. Taking a closer look at the Warthog, starting from underneath, as you can see, I put side exit exhaust on there because I just thought they'd look mean. And then I used the rigid style suspension setup from the dual mode Warthog. If you don't know which one I mean, it's this one. I did try both of the other styles of suspension, the conventional one or the original one, as well as the new infinite style suspension, but neither of them looked as good as this one did. This one gave it that really low down, planted, fast look, and I didn't feel that I needed the active suspension for this build. It also comes with those red spring assemblies, or there might be airbags, I'm not sure. And then on the front, as you can see, I changed the front section a little bit to allow kind of like an air intake into that engine section, just to make it look a little bit different than the normal ones. On the side, I did some side building to create these sloped wedge pieces that just really flared out the arches. Originally, I didn't have the bars on the front and the back, or those wedge pieces, and it looked a bit too narrow and underwhelming, so I put those wedge pieces on first, but then realized I needed to pack out the back and the front to match it, so I then added on the bars. Underneath, I've got some detailing just coming off the back of the rear bumper, as it were. And then on the side here and on the top, I was particularly pleased with how well the rear window and the rear spoiler, it took some working out, but it all flows really nicely, and I was really pleased with some of those angles that I managed to create. I also made it a convertible. Obviously the Warthogs are usually just a T-bar, but I wanted this enclosed because it was more of a civilian style vehicle, so it's got to be all weather. They don't want to get wet, so I wanted to put a roof on it, but obviously it's really easy to create a roof that can come off, so when the sun's shining, roof comes off, they can catch some rays. Inside I went for the brown seats. I felt that suited the black the best. And then all of the consoles in there are mainly what comes with the dual mode. I added the little grab rail for the passenger side and the two round dials above the center console. I added those too. I also opted to leave the engine detailing in from the dual mode as well because I just thought it looked good. One thing that I wasn't sure about when I was building it was the color of the screen. I originally built it with the tinted screen that you can get on many Warthogs. And whilst it did look good and I did like it, I just felt the clear screen just looked more natural. As much as I can imagine only having tinted glass, I just felt personally the clear screen looked better. But you can make your own mind up as to which screen looks better. Feel free to let me know in the comment section below which one you think looks better. I'll probably leave the clear screen on because you can appreciate the engine detail more with that clear screen. And to finish off the video, I wanted to show you the ONI Hog alongside the NMPD Troop Hog. As you can see, although it's made up of primarily Warthog pieces, it's a completely different beast. And I actually think these two vehicles complement each other pretty well. Although ONI aren't part of the police force, you could imagine the NMPD responding to a call, securing the area, and then these two guys turning up in their rapid response vehicle and just strolling in saying, "We'll take it from here." Whilst I can't imagine Mega ever creating an ONI Hog simply because I think it's too niche within the Halo lore for them to take a gamble on, I don't really need them to. I've made my own and there's no reason why you can't too. This is why I collect Mega. I love being able to create these custom builds with all of the fantastic parts that Mega have given us over the years. I had so much fun putting this build together. I know it's small, but sometimes the small ones are the best ones. They're less stressful and they're quicker, so you get your satisfaction a lot sooner than dragging out a huge build over months and months. And I'm not done with this yet. I'm going to attempt to color swap out most of the black parts to see if I can create a UNSC green version. I'd also like to try and use the other parts from the dual mode Warthog, the blue parts that I stripped the axle off of. I think that would look pretty nice, a half blue, half black variant. And then I think the best one, if I can get the parts, I'd absolutely love to create an NMPD version to go along with the Troop Hog and my custom made Interceptor. So let me know what you think of this build. I absolutely love it. Hopefully you guys like it too and have been inspired to try and create your own. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you next time.